Hey everybody, let's talk about GB Studio some more and talk about what a sprite is and how we can need to make some of those custom for our game. So here's what we're going to do. I pulled up the documentation for GB Studio at gbstudio.dev and clicked on the area that talks about sprites, and it talks about the colors that can be in the sprites. So you only get three colors, like a white, middle green, and a dark green, okay? Or you can think about it as white and light gray and dark gray. And then this really neon green color is going to be the transparent color. So when your sprite moves around on the background, anything that is this color is not going to be visible. It's transparent and shows the background underneath it. So most of the sprites are 16 by 16, okay, or based on a 16 by 16 grid. So for a single static sprite that's just one thing that doesn't have to face any direction or move at all, 16 by 16. Animated sprites can have multiple frames, and then you can make things animate by playing them at a certain speed. And those can be up to 25 frames, but that would be all of the sprites you're allowed in one scene. So an actor can be one that can face in 4 different directions. So to the front, to the back, to the right, and then the engine just flips it if it wants to face it to the left to go the other way. An animated actor is someone that is going to actually walk around. So these are the player characters, but they have 6 frames of animation. So just walking forward 2 steps, walking up 2 steps, walking to the side 2 steps. There's a limit to how many sprite frames can be loaded in that scene, so you don't want to have too many sprites in there. So let's take a look now at what we can do to edit these images. So you're going to need some kind of editing software like Photoshop, or there's other ones out there. But the one that we're going to use is called Paint.net. And if you go to my website and click on video game design, there'll be a link here to click on and go to the download for Paint.net. And what you want to do is download it here at Paint.net. Getpaint.net is the website. And if you click on this, you're going to see free download now. And then you can download this file. And when it opens up on your computer, then you're going to open it up and install it on the machine. So we'll see if we can get that to open up here in just a moment. Okay. Alright, so when it opens up, you're going to get a dialog box that says install, and just click on that and it's going to go ahead and run the installer, and it'll ask you a couple of things. It'll ask if you want to make changes. Yes. It's going to install all this information onto the machine. I've already got it installed, so it's probably going to tell me it's going to remove the old thing. You can click express. That seems to be the easiest thing to do. I agree, and it's going to remove the previous version and install the other version. So we'll come back here in a moment and we will. Okay, so we're back and that's finishing up, and so it says start paint.net. That's what you want to do to finish. Mine took like 2 or 3 minutes to get everything installed. Depends on how fast your computer is, probably faster or slower depending on what you want. And then we're going to start up paint.net, and this is what you're going to see. Normally this color picker is down here, but since my face is down there, I'm going to go ahead and move it up here. And then yours will probably have a default palette that looks like this, and we don't need all these colors for our sprites, so we want some kind of a GB Studio palette. And there's a palettes folder in your documents. There's a paint.net user files, and in there is where you could save palette files. If you don't want to build your own palette from scratch, which I'll show you kind of how to do here in a moment, you can go to my itch page and download my palette that I've been using. So click on the Mr. Moose's demo game and click down here gbstudio.txt for paint.net, and that's the palette that I use when I build things in paint.net. So you could do that to save yourself a little bit of time. So the other way to do that is to just click and replace all of these colors so you don't have all of them in the way. You can kind of create your own palette that way. So like I would click this gray and then click add here and add here and add here and add here, and basically replace all of the colors that's showing here with gray so that I can build my own custom palette. So I'll pause here for a minute, finish that up, and then I'll come back and show you how to get that all taken care of. Alright, cool. So we've got those all replaced there. So the next thing we want to do is just open up a file from your GB Studio folder. So last time we created a demo game, right? And we created uTutorial, and then in assets under sprites there's a bunch of different files. So you can look at these sprite files and have an idea of what you need to do to make one. So if we want to open this with paint.net, then we'll open it up, and this tiny little 16 by 16 pixel image of the dog. So you can press plus down there at the bottom and enlarge it, and then we can edit that dog and draw something else if we want to. Okay, let's open a couple of other ones so you can see what else is there, and then we'll go from there. It's easier if you open it from the folder and you change your view to icons so you can see what the picture is instead of guessing from the list. Alright, so this guy here has 3 frames because this one can face up, down, left, or right. And so these are each 16 by 16 squares. So everything together is 48 by 16 there at the bottom. And then let's open up one more, and this is the one that we're gonna try and edit. So this is the player character from the demo that GB Studio comes with, and we'll open that up with paint.net, and you can see that's 6 frames of animation, so it's 96 by 16 down there. And so that's got significantly more frames of animation, so you can have 2 walking left, walking right. And so if we want to build our color palette, we can click here on the color picker and we can pick the green, and then we can click add and then add the green. So that's our transparent color. And then we can click the color picker and pick the white, click add, and have the white. Then we can click the color picker, click green, that medium tone, whoops, you gotta click it, click add, and then add the green. And then the 4th color that we get is the black, or the darkest one. So we'll click that, click add, and click it there. So once you have that in there, then you're going to save your current palette. So we'll save it as uTutorial, okay? And that way we know that those are the ones we've done so far, okay? And if you want to go back to reset the default, great. but you can also click U tutorial and you have your 4 colors that you can choose from. So what we want to do is try to edit these files, okay, and turn this into a different person. So what you want to use when you're doing pixel art is the pencil tool and not the paintbrush, because the paintbrush is going to do a couple of different things. The brush width would be too much, okay, and when you draw with it, it might draw something. If you want to undo, you can click the undo button over here, or Control Z to undo something, okay. The other thing you want to do is turn anti-aliasing off, disabled. If it's enabled, you see it didn't pick just the pixels, it picked the ones around it, and it kind of shaded it a little bit, which makes things look more smooth, okay, if you have a lot of pixels to work with, but doesn't help for pixel art, okay. You need to be exact because you're placing every pixel. So disable the anti-aliasing, okay. And then this hardness of the brush, or tolerance, needs to be all the way down to 0, so it's only working with that specific color of pixel. So the pencil tool is what you want. So we're going to take here and we're going to draw a little bit, and we're going to change this character into a different one. So we're going to take some of this stuff out here, and we're going to take the hair off of this gal, and we're going to see if we can do something a little bit different with it. So you can see that drawing pixel art is simple, but it's also kind of time consuming too, to go through and pick a pixel for every single place as you're trying to think about what you want the character to look like, okay. So let's see here. So we'll work on this for just a little bit and see what we get, okay. And we'll erase some of this here, or actually let's keep that there, because that kind of represents the hand of the person there, and this one's forward, and then maybe we'll make that a little smaller since that's the one in the back, and we can go from there. So that's not too bad, okay. It didn't take us a ton of time to edit that, but you could always fine-tune it a little bit as you go. So I don't know, let's call that good. So we kind of transformed this person that was kind of a girl with the longer hair into sort of a boy shape. We haven't done as much shading with it, but I don't think you really need to try to do too much shading when you're only working with a very limited palette, and this is about as limited as it gets. So now that we've got that dude in there, we can make it flip so that it's walking the other way, okay. And what we're going to do is select 16 by 16 pixels. If you look down there at the bottom, you can see where it's telling me the selection area is 13, 14, 15, 16 by 16 pixels, okay. And once I get 16 by 16, then what I'm going to do is copy that. So I'm going to hold Control and push copy, and then I'm going to click out of there, okay, and then Control V, which is paste. Then I'm going to drag this handle here all the way across, and then drag it open again until it gets to 16 by 16, and you see that that flipped the character, okay. So that flipped the character right there. We don't have to draw everything all over again, except this time I need my highlight to still be on the right hand side. So I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to paint that in and then I'm gonna put the highlight back here on this side. Okay, now the hair is going to change a little bit, so we might end up wanting to edit that, but it might look like the hair is swinging a little bit, so maybe he has long hair or something that swings around. Or we may want to edit the top of the head so that it's the same on both sides. But for now, let's just go with that. And then what we want to do is try to redraw all of this other pixel art. I'm going to keep the feet in place because that's the trickiest thing, to make it look like they're walking. And if somebody's already done that work for you, then why work on it or mess with it? So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here and then re-edit these two things and do a similar idea, and then we'll come back and take a look at what I've accomplished. Alright, so let's look back at what we've got so far. So been working on this for a little bit now, and I've turned this one into a more boy-like sprite than the one that was there before. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to select the 16 by 16 area, Control C to copy, click out of the box, Control V to paste, grab this handle here and pull it across, and watching at the bottom of the screen, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 by 16 pixels. And then I flipped that one again, okay? This side one is a little bit more complicated because I want the arm that's swinging backwards here to swing forwards here. So I did all this editing. I could try to do all of that with the head there, but what I'm going to try to do is select just this part of the head that I made last time, and I'm going to move it onto there. So Control Copy, click out, Control Paste, and then I'm just going to transfer this over until it lines up about where I want it to be, okay, on there. And then I'll have to use my pencil tool to clean up some of this extra texture here that I don't want in there. But there's not much, okay, to clean that up. And so just by changing the color, this one looks closer or farther away or darker or whatever, then you get that idea that the person is walking a little bit. So you have this silhouette and you just changed your color a little bit. So we'll see what it looks like in the game. Okay, so when I'm all done with that, since I edited the player.png file, I want to save as something different. Okay, so I'm going to save it as player custom, and I already have an 01 there, so I'll do 02. Okay, and that way I know which one it is. Now, if you're going to name your characters in your game, then you can name that as Sam or Jim or Millie or whatever, so that you would know who the characters are when you look at their PNG file. So we'll save that PNG file, and then let's try putting it into the game engine and see what we get. Okay, so let me get that set up and we'll get all ready to go. Alright, so I've got it all ready to go. So let's open up GB Studio here, and we've opened up uTutorial again, and we've got our game engine. Remember last time we added this scene with the dog over here, and we changed a few things and added the trigger. So just click out of any of the scenes and you'll see Project, Starting Scene, Player Sprite Sheet, and that's where you can set the player sprite sheet. So we're going to click on this, and so instead of player, we're going to go down to here, player custom 2. That's the one that we just set, and let's see if this works. So we're going to save the game, and then we're going to run the game and see if that allows us to use our new custom sprite sheet as our player and see what it looks like. So you would use the same process to edit any of the sprites. So if you want to add other objects to your game, then make a 16 by 16 sprite and add them. If you want to add other people that you can talk to, do the same thing. Okay, so let's press start, let's press new game, and let's see whoever we got. Hey, looky there, that's the little dude that we made. Not a long-haired person anymore. Okay, sure. Oh, would you like to examine this tree? No, that's weird. Okay, so it works okay. It's moving. One thing that can make things look more realistic is to make the you can see that when he moves down, his hair changes position a little bit, and that's okay. If you don't like that, then you'd have to go in and edit that a little bit. One thing that can make it look good is to make the head bob up and down a little bit, and so they look like they're moving. But you can check some other sprites out from some other games and see how that works. But this is a good place to start, at least for making a custom character. Let me show you a few places you can go to find more information about making sprites. Okay, so one cool place to go is called the Spriters resource. Okay, and this is basically a place where people are copying and ripping the graphics from games. Okay, not to be used for commercial stuff, but just for people to study and for preservation, I think, for the most part. People sometimes use the graphics here as placeholders as they're prototyping and testing games. But if you click here on Gameboy or GBC, then you're going to get a whole bunch of sprite sheets from different kinds of games, and you can look through there and find some games. So if you're looking for something that's going to work with this top down, oh great, yeah, I clicked on the ad apparently, so that's cool. Let's not go there. Okay, so you're gonna want to click on games and look for really cool. So this is how they work this out for you. Okay, let's see if we can actually find a place where we can go to a game instead of an advertisement for Lowe's. So Final Fantasy Adventure or something like that. So this is a game that I remember playing when I was little, which has some real similar ideas to what we're doing with our top-down view here. And the characters here, like the NPCs, if you click on this, they actually have the several viewpoints of the people, front, back, left, and right, that you could actually copy and paste in and then use those as a basis for editing your own custom characters. So just click on download this sheet and it'll save it to your computer as a PNG file that you can open up in paint.net and play around with. So that's a kind of a cool place to go. All this stuff is copyright to the companies that originally did this, so don't be thinking you're going to use this in an actual commercial game. But another place that you can check out is opengameart.com, and you can find some work there as well for people. If you go to my itch page, you can go to Peter Milko's page and click on that, and he actually has some free Game Boy Studio assets that you can use. So free to use in games. You can download his art assets, and if you go to his YouTube channel, he does a lot of cool videos on pixel art design and telling you actually how to draw pixel art, and he has some Game Boy Studio stuff that you could use to get you started. So check that out and play around with creating your own custom sprites and getting them into the game. The other place that we wanted to show was opengameart.com. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, and this is another place where people will upload different assets that they've been working on. Some of them are for free, some of them for not. So if you like search 16 by 16 or Gameboy or something like that, you might find something that works for you. 16 by 16 vehicles. So take a look around there. The licenses here will tell you what you can use them for, and the COO is the one that's just like totally free. You can do whatever you want with it. Here's a little character mage that this guy has, and this is CCO. Okay, so you can use it for whatever you want. No credit necessary. So that's another resource that you can check out for character sprites and ideas. There's probably some more things out there, but think about that a little bit. Spend some time working on adding some custom sprites to your Game Boy game, and I'll come back next time and show you some other cool stuff you can do with GB Studio. Alright, for now, talk to you guys later. Bye bye.